They can tell by watching a person's facial expressions what makes them happy, what makes them sad, and then they start to weaponize your vulnerabilities, your insecurities. Hi, this is Jim Breon. Welcome to our YouTube channel where we talk about all things mental health. Today, the topic, it's something that a lot of people have asked this question. Why is it that I attract so many narcissists into my life? It's a good question. When you start to see that you've had serial relationships with narcissistic personalities, it is a question that you need to ask and understand, what is my part in this attraction? Because, narcissists are people that lack empathy. They have this inflated sense of their own self-importance, excessive need for admiration and validation. They often emotionally manipulate people, gaslight people, invalidate people. They deny your truth and they control people in relationships. So why would anybody want that kind of relationship? Why would they want that kind of person in their life? And I think what's true is often the things that it might attract a narcissist to you are the things that you're not even consciously aware of. So there could be lots of different reasons for that. Number one is you might have a narcissistic parent. So if you grew up with a parent who's a narcissist, all of those behaviors seem normal. That's what love feels like to you, or what you perceive as love. And growing up with a narcissistic parent, you develop attachment wounds based on that dysfunctional relationship. And your developing sense of self is different than growing up with a parent who's not a narcissist. And basically, you grow up in relational trauma. And we often try to replicate patterns unconsciously. We have things modeled for us, and then we introject those things, and then we end up playing them out in our lives. This is something sometimes referred to as the repetition compulsion. It's sort of like, in this relationship, I'm with this person, I'm trying to fix that dynamic that I could never fix with my parents. Another reason you might attract narcissists into your life is that you're an empathic person. You could be an empath, you could be a highly sensitive person, and that's a trait that narcissists lack. Now, it's a misnomer to believe that narcissists have zero empathy unless they're also struggling with antisocial personality, like sociopathy or psychopathy. But many narcissists actually do have what's known as cognitive empathy. They can tell by watching a person's facial expressions what makes them happy, what makes them sad, which is the reason that their manipulations are so effective. What they don't have is what an empath has, which is compassionate empathy and emotional empathy. In other words, that they can feel other people's emotions. And that's something that they lack. And they're attracted to that because you can fulfill yourself by feeling like you can attune to that person, and then they see you as a form of narcissistic supply to make themselves feel better. Another reason you might attract narcissists into your life is that you have learned to deny your own needs. And this is what can turn into what we think of as codependence. Can be the result of trauma, abuse, neglect growing up. Having a narcissistic parent or a parent who has an addiction or untreated mental illness, because you learn to prioritize other people over yourself. Another reason could be that you have low self-esteem, that you don't care enough about yourself to say, whoa, I'm not willing to put up with that. Sometimes the narcissists, when they come into your life, they have this sure of themselves, confident persona that to somebody with low self-esteem could feel like a knight in shining armor, like this is going to be my rescuer. But unfortunately, what happens is in the early stages, you might experience all of that love bombing, so that the narcissist kind of sets their hooks into the relationship, so to speak, draws you in, but then eventually comes the devaluation. And then they start to weaponize your vulnerabilities, your insecurities, in order to inflate their own ego. and then they can control you. Another reason that you might invite this type of personality into your life is because it feels good sometimes. And that's when we talk about intermittent reinforcement. In a narcissistic or an abusive relationship, the makeup sex and the fast and furious nature of the early part of the relationship can be really heady and can be really addicting to people, especially people who struggle with love addiction. The problem with that is that the good stuff only comes every now and then, and you never know when it's going to happen. And that process keeps you locked in often a trauma-bonded relationship. Narcissists are attracted to people that will improve their self-image and make them look good. So in public, they might talk you up and tell everybody how great you are, brag about you, but then in private, they tear you down. Another reason you might attract this into your life is because you're conflict avoidant, or have learned to be a people pleaser, or you're in that repetition compulsion trying to fix a broken childhood, working out the unfinished business of your childhood. So all those things, in consideration, how do you heal yourself? How do you move beyond these patterns so that you don't attract them into your life? The first word is boundaries, boundaries, boundaries. You have to learn healthy boundaries. You have to learn and state what you're willing to put up with and what you're not. And how to not let somebody move your boundaries. If they just push hard enough, you're going to move your boundaries. Don't let that happen. And if they do start pushing your boundaries, then you might want to think about ending the relationship before it goes any further, because they're not respecting you. If they can't back off, you might have to. Now, at the same time, you've got to raise your self-esteem and your self-concept so that you're strong enough to do that. Another thing you have to do is you have to take off the rose-colored glasses. If you think about red flags, the reason we don't see them often is if you're wearing rose-colored glasses, red flags look gray. You don't notice them. So you really have to start to notice the incongruent behaviors. You really have to pay attention to their personality traits, how they treat other people, how they shapeshift, and they'll be, one person in one situation and an entirely different person in another situation. If they treat you differently in public than in private, you have to really pay attention to that. And you have to be able to walk away from anyone who tries to control you. If they start criticizing your behaviors, controlling your movements, tracking you, a healthy partner will appreciate you, not control you. You have to develop a sense of calm and a sense of confidence. You have to work on regulating your own nervous system. Narcissists love someone who doesn't know their own worth, because you're an easy target for them to tear you down then. And narcissists will look elsewhere if you show that you have confidence and you know your own worth. You need to really pay attention to their behaviors, notice their values, and listen to your intuition. If you don't know how to listen to your intuition, then you need to learn how to do that, because we do have different ways of knowing. We can cognitively think about things, but then our gut also informs us. And a lot of times we talk ourselves out of our gut instinct, and you have to learn how to not do that and to trust that gut instinct. Once you reject somebody for their bad behaviors, don't let them back in. And if you decide to stay in a relationship with a narcissist, there's one truth that you really have to accept, and that is that nothing will ever change. And you have to ask yourself, am I okay with that? Or is my life worth more to me? Maybe you're just hanging on and not letting go of the relationship once you start recognizing the red flags. Because lots of people will date different people, and as soon as they start recognizing, this isn't the right thing for me, they end the relationship. And maybe you're somebody who doesn't know when to end a relationship, when to stop. So you have to really learn to recognize what your gut is telling you and end the relationship if it doesn't feel right to you. Because if it doesn't feel right, it's not right. Another thing you need to do is you need to enlist social support. You need to surround yourself with caring and compassionate people that have your back. You might want to get yourself into therapy and work with a therapist who understands the dynamics in a narcissistic relationship. So you can start to heal your wounds and particularly look at things like hypervigilance, how your nervous system is always on guard, at your overreactions, and maybe the ways that you check out and dissociate as well. And importantly, looking at the attachment wounds that you developed growing up. So I hope the video is helpful. I encourage you to like and subscribe, sign up for notifications so we can let you know when more videos are coming out. And please leave comments and let me know what you think. Ask any questions. And I look forward to sharing more with you later. Take care.